So we have our practice problems here, and we're going to look at the first one. It says find the common difference of each of the following. And so we're going to find how much we need to add to each of these to get the next term or value. And so let's look at the first one. We're going to want to see how much we need to add to -6 to get to 1. And so 1 minus -6 is 7. And so that means we're adding 7 each time. And so if you look over here, 1 plus 7 is equal to 8. So that shows that 7 is our common difference. 7. In this next one, you can see that these aren't numbers, these are blocks. And we're going to assume that this block sequence keeps on going. It doesn't just stop right there at 3 blocks. So we're going to just assume that it keeps on going. And so let's figure out how much we need to add to each. So this first one has 2 blocks, and the next one has 4 blocks. This one has 2, and that one has 4. So how much do you need to add to 2 to get to 4? And we all know you need to add 2 to get from 2 to 4. And you see this one has 4 blocks, and if the common difference is 2, we would add 2 to 4, which would be 6. So this next one over here should have 6, and it does. So that tells us that our common difference is 2. Our next one over here, the starting value is 10, and we need to see how much we need to add to 10 to get to 4. And so it's 10 to 4, and in this case you see you don't really add, you subtract. And so how much do you subtract from 10 to get to 4? And we know that you subtract 6. And so from 4, if you subtract 6, you would get -2, and -2 is the next term. So that means that the common difference in this arithmetic sequence is -6. Let's move on to the next problem. Problem 2 says, find the explicit formula of each of the following and solve for the 7th term. We want to make sure that we remember our explicit formula, so I'm just going to write it down here really quick. And it says f of n is equal to f of 1 plus d times n minus 1. The first thing we're going to try to do is we're going to try to find the common difference in the initial value to make our explicit formula. And so what we're going to do is we're going to find the common difference in the initial value of each of these arithmetic sequences so we can write our explicit formulas. And so first what we're going to do is we're going to find the common difference, or D, and we want to see how much we need to subtract from 23 to get to 16. And to get to 16, we need to subtract 7. And so that means that our common difference is -7. Next, we want to find our initial value, and so f of 1 is the initial value. And so the first term of the arithmetic sequence is our initial value. So our first term over here is 23. So that means 23 is our initial value. Now we can move on and we can write our arithmetic sequence. And so we're going to write f of n is equal to f of 1, which is 23, plus d, which is -7, and so I'm going to write -7 minus 7 times n minus 1. Now that we have our explicit formula, what we're going to want to do is solve for the 7th term as it says right here. And so we're going to plug in a 7 everywhere we see n. And so we're going to write f of 7 is equal to 23 minus 7 times 7 minus 1. And 7 minus 1 is actually 6. And so I'm going to replace the 7 minus 1 over here with a 6. And so now we're going to go ahead and we're going to solve this. And so let's say f of 7 is equal to 23 minus 7 times 6. So -7 times 6 is -42. So minus 42. And so f of 7 is equal to 23 minus 42, which is equal to -19. And so that right there is going to be our answer. Now we're going to move on to the next one, and again, it's blocks. And we're going to want to find our common difference and our initial values. So common difference this one has 1 block and this one has 2. So we have to add, we're gonna have to see how much we add to 1 to get to 2. And we all know that you have to add 1 to get to 2. So our common difference is going to be 1. Now we're gonna find our initial value, and that's the value that we first start with, and you can see over here that it's 1. And so f of 1, our initial value, is equal to 1. Now we're going to write our explicit formula right here. F of n is equal to f of 1, which is 1, plus d, which is also 1, times n minus 1. And you see right here that this is 1 times n minus 1, and we don't really need that one over here because it's going to have the same value if it was just n minus 1. So we're going to take out that 1 right there, and we're going to write it as 1 plus n minus 1. Now that we have our explicit formula, we're going to solve for the 7th term, and we're just going to replace the n with a 7. And so right here, f of 7 is equal to 1 plus n minus 1, so 7 minus 1, which is going to be 6. And so f of 7 is equal to 1 plus 6, which is 7. And so that is going to be our final answer for this one. It's going to be the 7th term. Now, again, we're going to do the same process with this next one right here, and I'm going to do this one a little quicker. And so we're going to want to see how much you add to 59 to get to 64, and you add 5, so plus 5, so that means d is equal to 5. Next, we want to find our initial value, f of 1, and our first term in this arithmetic sequence is 59. And so 59 is our initial value. We're going to move on and write our explicit formula for this one. So that is f of n is equal to 59 plus 5 times n minus 1. And now we're going to solve for the 7th term. Come here, and we're going to write f of 7 is equal to 59 plus 5 times n minus 1, 7 minus 1, which is 6. And so we're going to write over here f of 7 is equal to 59 plus 30, and so f of 7 is equal to 89. And that is going to be our final answer on this one. Now let's move on to the next one. It says find the recursive formula of each of the following. And so remember, to write our recursive formula, we need the common difference and the initial value. And so over here, we need the common difference first. And so we want to see how much we need to add to 78 to get to 93. We have to add 15. So that means our common difference is 15. Next, we want to find our initial value, f of 1, and that's just the first term in the sequence, and so that is 78. Now we can write our recursive formula, and so it's in 2 parts. So first we're going to write our first part, which is f of 1 is equal to the initial value, and the initial value is 78. The second part is going to be f of n is equal to f of n minus 1 plus d, and d is 15. And so this all right here is our recursive formula for this one. Our next one again is boxes. So this is 1 box, that's 3 boxes. We want to see how much we need to add from 1 to get to 3, and that's, we have to add 2. And so our common difference is going to be 2. Next, we're going to find our initial value, so that's going to be f of 1, and our first value in this arithmetic sequence is 1. So f of 1 is equal to 1. Now we're going to take this information and write our recursive formula, and remember the first part is just the initial value. So f of 1 is equal to 1. The next one we're going to write is going to be the second part, which is f of n is equal to f of n minus 1 plus d, which is 2. And so this is our recursive formula for this sequence. Our last one over here, we're going to find the common difference right here to see how much we need to subtract from 26 to get to 13. And we're going to subtract 13. So our common difference is negative 13. Next, we're going to find our initial value. And so it's going to be f of 1 is, and the initial value is just the first term again. And so the first term is 26. So our initial value is 26. Now again, we're going to take this information and we're going to write the recursive formula, and the first part of the formula, remember, is just the initial value. And so our initial value is 26. And now we're going to write the second part right here. F of n is equal to f of n minus 1 plus d. And so in this case, d is negative, so we're going to write minus. And so minus 13. And so that is our equation right here. I hope you guys understood everything that I said in the video. Please comment down some questions down below that you have on this video or any other videos or any other topics that you want me to do my video on next. Like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Bye!